I think the getting to that 5% actually is not that difficult when you think about it. They had been starting pushing up consumption, and there is delayed fiscal impulse that they didn't push out in the first 3 quarters of the year. Even they're not going to miss a lot. The key question is more about whether China can address the structural problem, which is oversupply versus under consumption.
So is that to say then that the World Bank is wrong, that 4.3% is a bit too pessimistic, and that China actually can achieve this because they will be dealing with that consumer low demand structural issue?
If they do deal with it, then 4.3% will be too low. We are still waiting for the answer whether they are going to deal with it, right? Yes, they have announced a series of measures, but the real measure is the fiscal package that we haven't seen yet. Right? This morning there was this disappointment regarding the planning agency press conference, but actually I think its expectation was just misplaced to begin with, because planning agency is not fiscal authority. They're not in charge of fiscal stimulus, so we don't know the answer yet.
Yeah, but I suppose the market was looking for, if they're the planning agency, how exactly the economy would be going about getting to that 5% figure, which perhaps provides the detail. And market may be disappointed that they didn't get enough detail. Is that not perhaps the issue then? And my real question to this is, what exactly did China need to do in order to get more growth coming into the economy? Just specific measures.
Well, that's the question indeed. What do they need to do, right? They need to support household income. They need to beef up the social security. They need to help the local governments to address their debt problem much faster, so the local governments have resources to support the economy. And they need to help the banks to recap, so they have more capacity to absorb the bad debt. And of course, they also need to stabilize the housing sector. These are what they need to do, a long list.
Yeah, it really is that property sector that I was also going to then touch on. It's an ailing sector. It's a sector they've tried to pick up and boost, but again, it continues to flounder. And even today, heavy hit for that property sector. What's the hope? What's the plan here for Chinese property? It's a long-stemming problem. Is it one that can be fixed ultimately long-term and not necessarily now?
Well, it depends on how you define fixing, right? So the idea here is, I think we need to be realistic. Even if they stabilize housing, it's hard to see much upside because of the supply and demand balance in China. And but the question then is, they need to stabilize the confidence, which they tried, and there's a little bit of success here. During the national holidays, actually housing sales stabilized in major cities. Now what they need to do is, offer help to speed up the debt restructuring in the sector, to absorb some of the excess supply. So the goal is to stabilize, is not to have another, boom.